Hello, this is Aaron Maller from Parallax, and this is just a quick video to go over a couple of potential workflows for how we would recommend halftoning or lightening unit groups if you wanted to have them shown in a lighter graphical style in an overall plan. This came up on Twitter yesterday, so we thought we would take a peek at it. One thing that's very important to me, though, is that we don't want to redundantly create additional object types that aren't serving any other purpose besides delineating whether or not they are going to be used inside of a group. That can lend itself to somebody accidentally using a unit wall type outside of a unit, and then it's halftoned and it looks different, or it schedules differently, and so on. And on top of that, all of the Revit items know that they're inside of a group. We just don't have access to that in native Revit schedules and filters. So we came up with two potential workflows for how we would consider doing this. The first, which is the most straightforward, is also the least intelligent, but what we're going to do is we have a graph for Dynamo, and this particular graph is going to say you run this from inside the overall plan. And it says grab all of the items that are in this plan, take a look at whether or not they belong to a group. If they do, we're then going to check the name of that group, and we're going to see if it contains the word unit. If it does, then we are going to override the elements by instance. And I know normally in training we say right-click override in view is not something that we want to do, but if we're using automation to do it, we have some semblance of control over which items are going to be overridden and which items are not. So you'll see here, we're just going to basically make them all overridden to 150, 150, 150, and we're also going to halftone them. So this one's a little more lightweight. Right now it's only set up for this particular view. But you'll see if we run it, it's not adding in any filters, it's not putting any data in the objects themselves, it's just running on the objects and saying, are they part of a unit group, yes or no? If so, let's override their graphics. And there we have it. Now, I'm going to edit undo so that we can talk about the second workflow, which is a little more smart. So we're going to go back to Revit and just undo running that Dynamo graph so that all the units come back to looking normal. The second graph that we have leverages model data a little more intelligently, but it is a little heavier to run also. So this particular graph is going to not grab all of the items that are in this specific view, but it's going to grab all elements throughout the entire 3D model. Then it's going to check and say, are those elements part of a unit group? And if so, it's going to write the word unit in a project parameter that is a text parameter that we've set to vary by group instance. So if I select a wall that's in a group, you'll see that item instance group member is a parameter that we could type in right here because it's set to vary by group instance. That means it has to be a text parameter. It can't be a yes or no parameter, and we were discussing the reasons for that on Twitter last night. So this one does take a little longer to run. It's also important to note that this is actually putting model data inside the modeled objects. That's not doing anything for the specific views. But then you can make a typical VG filter that's called, in this case I used one called group members multicat, and here we're setting this filter to be halftoned, and this filter is simply looking for that parameter contains the word unit. So this graph takes a little bit more heft to run because it has to run and touch all the modeled objects, but we'll let that finish. You'll see that in both cases, what you end up with is basically the same. Pros of the second version is you don't need to run it for all of the specific overall plans, and now you have those items with that data in them in case you want to filter schedules and other things. Obviously with both of these graphs they need to be run periodically because if things have been added to the groups and they may not have that data filled out in them correctly, this is a handy thing to just rerun because it's going to automatically update all of those items. So catch the link to the Dynamo graphs. They do require a couple of custom packages. I'll annotate the graphs before I post them, but let me know if that helps.